had one little change within our cops unit recently. My sergeant, Tina Blackstone, is no longer on our unit anymore, but we got a new sergeant. That's great also. And Sergeant Ricky Davis, he would like to come up here and speak to the group.
One for a while, so we're taking over for Sergeant Blackstone. Everything is going to pretty much remain the same. We'll work tightly with the community. Any concerns or anything that they have, still go to the same channel.
Mike, look back there and sit there.
Just want to make sure that you all know that I'm available. Give out my
Does it work?
I'm looking forward to working with you all and providing you the services that you need.
Diane Bell from the Prince William County Fire Department. She's going to speak briefly for a second.
Thank you, Officer Green. First of all, let me say good afternoon and Happy New Year to everyone. I would like to also state that I do have a co-worker with me, W. McBride, who's a community developer for the Prince George's County Fire Department. Also would like to say that I am the Fire Chief's Community Advisory Coordinator, Diana Fennell. I am the person that you will contact if you have any type of community events or you want us to come and speak to your organization in reference to fire safety. But right now, I'm going to turn the mic over to our Fire Chief Mark Bayshore, who came in December 2010 with the County Executive Sharon Baker's administration. We're very pleased to have him as our Fire Chief. Let's welcome Fire Chief Bayshore.
How's everybody doing? Can I go with that microphone? No?
Go with the microphone. All right, there you go. Smiles, that's what I love. I just wanted to take a few minutes and welcome you to 2013, introduce you to me. I have been for most of the other coffee clubs in the county police have going. However, as I explained to the officer back there, I hadn't been to this one because it apparently had a different address than this. So I went there one time, there was nobody there. I didn't go back. So I'm here, and it's good. I appreciate the opportunity to be here every once in a while and stop in just to say hi, see if there's any problems. Today, though, we're going to have a presentation that Don McBride is going to do for you. I'm going to talk to you about a few things to let you know what we're doing in the Fire EMS Department. Just real briefly, the Prince George's County Fire EMS Department is the largest, what's called combination fire department in the United States. And by that is a combination of volunteer and career working side by side. No other department in the United States has as many volunteers and career people in as big an area and as much apparatus as we do. So it's pretty significant. And with us today, you have the two career crews from the two Laurel stations over on Cherry Lane and also on Bowie Road. Bowie Road is the name of it, right? All right. It'll be underwater with it. Just put it on That's exactly right. Those crews will be there. They're there Monday through Friday, 7 to 3, basically, and then in the evening, the volunteers cover, and they also cover on weekends. We have other stations in the county where people are working 24 hours a day. Sometimes there's 4 or 5 people. Sometimes there's only 2. We're working through all those mechanics in the county, and there's a lot of strategic planning going on with how we staff. So there will be some changes coming up. I don't anticipate that it's going to affect the Laurel station right now. But, we have, for the first time in 12 years, we have a brand new fleet of apparatus coming in that will replace, over the course of 2 years, we'll replace 10 of our engines and 4 of our ladder trucks. That's a very significant commitment from the Baker administration to help us replace the fleet that has been aging for quite some time. That's county fleet. The volunteers are purchasing additional fire trucks through funding they receive from the state and through the county and through their fundraising of everything that they do with the different companies. One of the things that you're going to get a presentation on is fire safety and also a little bit about slips and falls. So a couple quick things on fire safety. It's that time of year where we have a significant increase in the number of fires, and unfortunately a significant increase in the number of fire fatalities. Just the other day in Greenbelt, there was an 87-year-old lady who originally made it out of the home, but went back in. She didn't make it back out. There were 2 other folks in the home that were injured. One of them with burns, one of them with an injury. He jumped from the window to get out. They were in their 50s and 60s. I cannot emphasize enough. They did all the right things in the beginning. Call 911, make the right report, we would get that done. But for some reason, she went back in. I can't emphasize enough. Once you're out, and if it's on fire, don't go back in. Your life is not worth it. The unfortunate, what we believe to be the cause of that incident, this is another part of the problem at this time of year, was they had a portable heater and they had combustibles too close to the heater. So a lot of times we see kerosene heaters, even the electric glow heaters, and they need to have at least a 3-foot clearance around them. Sometimes people put them up against the wall, and it's an extra piece of furniture, and then, oh, well, the dirty clothes, let's just throw the clothes, you know, I don't have time to deal with the dirty clothes. And I don't know exactly what it was that it was too close to, but this heater was too close to combustibles. They caught fire, and unfortunately, somebody lost their life. So I can't emphasize that enough. Be careful with what you're doing with the heaters. Once you're out of a burning building, please don't go back in. And I joke that we're the only profession that runs into a building and the rats are running out. They know that it's the right thing to do to get out. We know it's the right thing to do to get out once you're outside. The other thing that you're going to get a little bit about, and then we'll talk a little more about fire safety and fire prevention, but this slips and falls. My wife fell this morning on the ends. Coming out of the house, just walked out the front door, right on the button. I can make fun of it now because it wasn't me, and she's not here. Unfortunately, she'll probably see it on Comcast, though. So sorry, honey. She's okay, but she wasn't paying attention. Just walked out, wasn't thinking about ice. There was a little bit of water that would come down off of the bushes, created just enough of a skin of ice that she slipped and fell right on the rear. So you're going to get a little bit about slips and falls and how to help prevent those, not just on ice, but in the home, and how to deal with those things from these folks here. And they'll be giving information about how to, like Diane said, how to reach out in the future. If you have a homeowners association or some organization you want us to come talk to, we'll be happy to do that. The last thing that I'm going to talk about are smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors. How many of you live in single-family homes or townhomes? Okay, the majority. How many of you test your smoke alarm monthly, honestly? How many of the ladies use the smoke alarms as a timer for your oven? Should not be. I know that I did it. There was a time in my life where I did that. But the smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors, if you have a gas appliance of any kind, gas stove, anybody have gas appliances, gas furnaces, gas stoves, gas water heater, or something to that effect? Anything that has a flame produces carbon monoxide. That's why it's very important to have the right venting done through a qualified contractor, somebody that knows how to do the venting right, because anything, even if you do candles produce carbon monoxide. Very small quantity, but they produce carbon monoxide. So that's why it's important to have a detector. That's why it's important to keep those furnaces and the ovens and all those things up to date with respect to their exhaust systems, and make sure that you're checking that carbon monoxide detector just like you're checking your smoke alarm. You should check it monthly. We encourage people on the first of the month, which would have been 2 days ago. So I'm hoping that every one of you go home today, and because you didn't do it monthly this month, go home today. Please check your smoke alarm and carbon monoxide detector. If it doesn't work, if it's more than 10 years old, if you need one, you just don't have one and you need one, you stop over here at the table, and I'll take care of putting you on the list. One of these companies, if you live here, one of these companies will visit you and they will install it for you free of charge. We to charge you for it. We believe in it that much that we want everybody to have it. If you live in Beltsville, the Beltsville station, we want to take care of it. Anybody, any of the fire departments in Prince George County, able to volunteer, they have the capacity to come and do it. Just need to get you on the list. You need to sign a release, and they'll install it for you free of charge. If you don't want to put your name on the list and you don't feel like doing it right now, they have a phone number over there. I'll say it so you have it. It's 301-864-SAFE. 301-864-7233. You can call that number. It's either a recording or a live person, depending on the time of day, and you can get your name on the list, and they'll send out the first two to take care of it. It's very important. Frankly, we were fortunate this year to actually get carbon monoxide detectors included in the law effective July 2014 that we require. Now, we're not going to be the carbon monoxide detector police knocking on your doors looking for your carbon monoxide detectors, but it will be a law that you should have. It's currently a law that if you sell your house or you rent your house, you have to have it. So, July 1st, 2014, there'll be a requirement in all homes, and that includes apartments and everything else. Yes, ma'am?
Could you just give me that number one more time?
301-864-SAFE, which is 7.
For what?
SAFE, S-A-F-E, which is 7233.
7230.
7233.
33.
And that's the quick pieces I wanted to talk about, but I also wanted to ask if there's any questions, anything that I could answer or help you with in advance of this what's coming up. Yes, ma'am.
They come to install the carbon monoxide.
Yeah, when we have them, we get those through donations. So Pepco is our big benefactor, but there's also several other companies that have donated as long as we have them in stock. If we don't have them in stock, they'll put you on the list and as soon as they get them, they'll come. But either carbon monoxide detectors or smoke alarms. The one thing I do want to back up to, talk about 10 years old. I was just at my mother's house in Florida, and I was looking at hers. I've been to museums that haven't had smoke alarms as old as what I saw in her house. I took it down and put her up a new one. Just like, and I know you guys will say I'm lying, but just like us as we get older, we don't work quite as well. Not quite as fast, not quite as good sometimes. Some of you are going, don't speak for yourself. But the reality is smoke alarms are the same way. They have filaments inside, but over time, they just don't work as well. After about 10 years, while the battery is still, you push the button and it still goes beep, 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 beep. The reality is that those filaments aren't working and picking up the carbon monoxide and carbon particles like they used to. So every 10 years, you need to put it in one of those. Any questions? Okay. Yes, sir.
Does an portable electric heater also produce CO2?
No, if it's purely electric, it's not producing any CO. But you still have to keep that 3-foot perimeter around it. You should keep a 3-foot clearance around it to keep, because it can still cause either an electric arc or just physical heating and stuff. The carbon dioxide, anything with a flame, it's producing carbon monoxide. You start your car in the garage, even if you don't have gas appliances, start your car in the garage, it's carbon monoxide being produced out of your car. Okay.
I have an all-electric house.
But you have an attached garage?
Yes.
Yep.
So that's the requirement.
Yeah, the requirement says, it specifically mentions that, and that's a good point. If you have an all-electric house and you do not have an attached garage, the requirement of law doesn't apply. It specifically says gas appliances or an attached garage. And the law applies. Yes, sir. No, the CO is actually slightly lighter than air, so it will, right. The first ones that they gave out, the first ones that they produced, plugged into an outlet, so they're all like that most of the ground. That's just because that was all they had. They didn't have the battery outlet like the smoke alarms had. So they had to plug them in. CO is in the air normally, every day, so the alarm isn't picking up that normal level. Bless you. They put it down low, and what they were surmising was by the time it got down to that level, then it was time to go. my challenge to that is, if it's that bad down here, what is it up here? So it is slightly lighter than air, it goes up to the ceiling, so anytime you have those, we do not have, we don't encourage you to put them right near your like water heater or things that do produce the carbon dioxide, because they will produce a lot of carbon dioxide that circulates around that area and ultimately is pulled up through the flue or within. So at the top of the steps, like if those are in the basement, put it at the top of the steps. Somewhere near your sleeping area, somewhere where you can hear them at night. Because they can be down in the basement all you want, but if you can't hear it at night, it's not going to be as good. Anybody else? If not, I believe turn it over to Dominic. So we're pointing at each other. Yes, ma'am.
There is a tendency now for, in some new homes now, to put hot water heaters and furnaces on the second floor. Is that increase your danger of the possibility of some fumes or whatever getting out?
Not as long as they're properly installed and vented. No matter where they are, as long as they're properly installed and vented, then you're as safe as you can be. The alarms and detectors are just that extra level of alert that you won't get if you don't. But the bigger danger with those, you start talking about construction, the type of construction, how heavy they are, and what kind of problems it causes for failure if there's fire underneath. There's all kinds of things that go on with that, but from a carbon monoxide perspective, it's just the same.
Yeah, it's kind of scary at the second floor, I think.
Yeah, understood. Okay, if there's nobody else, I'm going to introduce Don McBride. He's a community developer, works in my community advisory council office. He has been with the department 5 years. He was a teacher at one point, and now he's working with us, and specifically working with our senior centers and the other elements of the community advisory council. He's going to give you a presentation on a little bit on fire prevention and slip, trips, and falls. Okay, thank you.
Boy, this is a hard act to follow. I would often say that I have never had the pleasure of going behind fire chiefs before, but he's a hard act to follow because he speaks so well. So with that said, I'm going to try my best not to bore you. My name is Donald McBride, and I'm a community developer with the Fire EMS Department. And I am elated, glad to be here today to speak to you about two culprits that deal with fire safety and injury prevention. And it's addressed specifically to the diamond demographic, which is senior adults. The other demographic that I'm very passionate about is our budding demographic, which are youth. And those two demographics mark the polarity of a community's health. Youth, the status of youth, as well as the wellness and the care of senior adults. But in relativity, it's all the same. It's knowledge, education. Both tie in with each other. So I'm going to educate you today on some very good topics and issues, and also give you some pointers on what to do and what you should not do, so that you will not be a casualty to some culprits, okay? All right, name of the presentation is Remember When Back in the Day We Were, not quite that bad, but pretty much I'm going to touch bases on smokers now. The fire chief gave you a tutorial on chemistry and a brief run through on fire marshal training. So we're going to cover physics. There will be a test after this presentation, okay? All right, anybody here smoke? Any smokers here? If not, okay, you know what to do, what not to do. But I'm going to put this there anyway. Now, before we begin, can anybody tell me, in the event of emergency, where are or is your nearest point of egress, your exit? Can you point to it? Just in case if something happens in this building, we all have to fend for ourselves. I think mine may be somewhere, might be on stage, you think? No? Where?
Went out the door.
Okay, why is that an exit? Can anybody tell me why? because it's marked and it says so. So therefore you know so. So we're going to go ahead and go full throttle here. No more jokes, okay? All right. If you smoke in bed, you want to make sure that you use a deep, sturdy ashtray. We've actually had several incidences where people had gone to sleep smoking and never woke up. Okay, so I highly contest anyone smoking in bed. Okay, and if you must smoke, use a deep, sturdy ashtray. Do not dispose cigarettes on the ground. You want to make sure that you dispose of them in a proper receptacle or container. All right, space heaters. 'Tis the season. All right. Can anybody give me at least what they feel? And I believe the fire chief used this measurement. What is the safe proximity, distance of a space heater from yourself or any combustible? It's 3 feet? Okay, let's do an ABC quiz. 3 feet, 4 feet, or 5 feet? By a show of hands, who says 3 feet? Show of hands, who says 4 feet? Show of hands, who says 5 feet? It looks like I need to go through tutorial training. You guys are right, so you are paying attention. 3 feet, that's the golden rule, 3 feet. Keep them at least 3 feet, 1 meter away from anything that can burn, including you. Shut off and unplug heaters when you are not in the room. So, you do not want to be heating a room that you're not occupying. All right, now, why do you think that I would recommend someone to wear well-fitted clothing when they're cooking and not flared sleeves?
So they won't catch on fire.
Okay, you could catch on fire. Number one answer. You want to make sure that when you are cooking, you have mitts, the proper mitigation devices that are required for cooking, and therefore you're not, as we say down south, fancied up and looking great, looking good. You at least want to have something that is close fitted to you so that it does not touch that burner at any time. Now, if so happen that you have a flare-up on the stove, in a pan, you want to make sure that you slide a flat surface, either the lid or a cutting board, over that flare-up, so that way you can extinguish that fire. Now, why am I telling you to suffocate the fire? Let's talk about chemistry a little bit more. What does fire need to survive? Oxygen. All right, y'all are right on the money, okay? So, therefore, you want to make sure that you're aware of that. Now, a lot of people say baking soda, salt, so forth. We'll go into that, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend you doing that because in the time it takes for you to look for all of that, you're in a panic state. The next thing you know, it leads to another state of emergency. But the golden rule is to slide that flat surface over that fire or that flame, and it will extinguish itself. And then we'll talk about fire extinguisher training in the next module. Yes, ma'am, you had a question?
That was my question.
That was your
Okay,
question.
so-
Okay. All right, looks like it cut off a little bit, but if in the event of an emergency, most kids can walk me through this when I speak to them. So I'm gonna walk you through this and probably you'll speak to me better than they can speak to me because sometimes as middle-aged adults, I tend to forget. But stop, drop, and roll. Number one thing to do in the event of an emergency, but I was also given the no-win scenario of someone who brought the situation of being in a smaller kitchen. What do I do? What do I do? If my kitchen is small and I can't drop down and roll properly. So we came up with this idea that to grasp your chest and to press yourself against a flat surface, whether it be a wall or a refrigerator, and roll and snuff that fire out. Because technically it's the same thing as dropping and rolling, you're just vertical rather than horizontal. But the number one thing you do not want to do, and that's run. Because at that point you're feeding the fire. Feeding the fire, basically that's a culprit right there for you to become a burning victim. Okay. All right, I think we talked about smoke alarms, and I'm going to reiterate it again and again and again and again until you get it. Because sometimes I need to have it reiterated again to me again and again and again until I get it. You'll be surprised how easily you forget when you go through your daily lives. But you want to make sure that your smoke alarms are installed on every level of your home in a hallway, at least 4 feet from the wall. 4 inches, I'm sorry, from the wall. You don't want to have it right up in the corner. Can anybody see that light fixture above the screen here? You see how it's further away from the corner than it is where it's sitting? Well, what I'm saying by that is you want to make sure when you install your smoke alarm that it actually is not in a corner where smoke, when it rises, it actually sometimes angles over at a soft angle rather than a sharp 90-degree angle. Smoke is not very technical, so most of the time it tends to curve or loose. So that's why we say you want to make sure that it's installed further away from the wall. Make sure the alarms are interconnected. I prefer those type. And those are the ones that when one goes off, all of them go off. So that means everybody on every level is aware, beep, 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 of what's happening. All hands on deck. Everyone knows what to do. Everyone's responsible for their own safety because they're educated and aware of what they need to do. And we'll cover point of egress and all of that stuff like that. But you'll be surprised. The fire drills that you did in school, they continue out until we can't learn anymore. So basically it all stays with you. Plan and practice your escape from fire. Fire drill. How many of us do them in our homes? Fire drill. How many of us have a safe meeting spot if anything happens? Now, I got a jitterbug phone from my grandmother when she was living at the time, and that phone, she would use it like it was nothing else going on because she was aware that was her #1 access point to either family member, myself, my father, my mother, my aunts, my uncles, my other cousins, even my sister. There needs to be something or somewhere in place so that you are aware of where you need to be in the event of an emergency. Just like I said, point out to me where your nearest egress point is. Our nearest egress point is where that exit is. But once we get outside of the building, where do we want to go? Pretty much at least 100 feet or 30 feet at minimum away from this building in the parking lot. I'm not going to go around the building. I'm not going to go and stand next to the door. I'm not going to come back inside and look for anyone unless I necessarily have to. But in this situation here, because everyone is aware, we know what to do. So if there was a fire that happened right here in this spot, right here, right now, we all would know what to do. The same goes for when you're in your home. You also want to make sure your windows can open easily if you are on the first floor. So everyone should know how to mash in your windows and pull the pane out and take it out and push the screen out. So if you're on your first floor, you know how to utilize that as an egress point. Now, I do not want anybody jumping from the second, third, or fourth floor. We'll cover that in the next tutorial, okay? All right. I need a little bit of help here. Can anybody give me the emergency number that they would dial a paramedic? And they are located in the back and so lovely and gracious and talented and skilled. I think that number might be 311, 411, or 511. What's that number? 911. Universal. Never goes out of style. Always in vogue and never plays out. However, I have to tell some of the younger generation not to utilize that promiscuously. Like we don't call 911 to get information or to find out if I can order a pizza. That's what 311, 411, 511 is for. Okay, so once you have escaped, if we happen to have an emergency here, one of us will be responsible for dialing 911 because I'm sure the ladies have a cell phone in their purse and the gentlemen have a cell phone in their jacket. Somebody's going to call 911 once we're outside of the building. Now I'm gonna run back inside and down number one outside. Plan your escape around your abilities. Now, this is a real sensitive topic that gets to a point where I can say that a lot of times we deal with hoarding. Anybody know what hoarding is? H-O-A-R-D-I-N-G, hoarding. Too much clutter, too much stuff. I never could understand as a kid why my parents always had me clean up my room. Like, you know, it doesn't make no sense. The house is clean, why have my room clean? Well, when I got a little older and a little bit wiser, and I knew better, that was prevention for an actual incident of me becoming a casualty in my own living space. Something happens, my room is so junky, I'm tripping over myself. So not only have I injured myself somehow, but I'm also more susceptible to not being able to egress properly because I have too much stuff around. And when I say plan your escape around your abilities, you want to make sure that if you're in a wheelchair, you have access points that you can utilize properly. And those access points should be tailor-made just for you. So with your eyes closed, if you have to, you pretty much know where to go because everything is tailor-made around your abilities. So that means that we're not running cords in the center of the floor. Cords are running along the baseboards. We don't have snags in our rugs. If we have throw rugs, they are in good condition where they're not frayed at the ends, and we are tripping over those. And also, when you're home, make sure that you have proper footing. We'll talk about that too as far as shoes. This right here is a little bit of stats here, and I'm going to read the bar graph to you, but it represents the amount of emergency room visits based on falls per age, as far as age bracket. Now, we have above 75, which pretty much leads the rate of falls per emergency room visits, and then everything else, you know, is pretty much skewed kind of evenly, with the exception of another age demographic, which is 12 to 17. Now, seniors most of the time fall because they lose their footing, or they're not properly balanced, or there's not proper mitigation for securing a railing in place, and that can ensure a fall. But can anybody give me a reason why the next demographic, which is 12 to 17, will be a runner-up to seniors in falls? Risk takers, risk addicts. Number one answer, gold star for you. I love it. Anybody here skateboard? Roller skate, bike blade, rappel, rodeo, derby. You know, I think we pretty much seen that they included myself too. So that means that the runner-up to you is only because they're risk addicts, whereas me entering a certain age bracket, I'm more of a risk adverse. I'm pretty much, you know, not as much of a risk taker with my own body because I don't want to be all broke up. And I know that. All right, exercise regularly. You'll be surprised that when you get up in the morning and you do light exercises, that increases your sense of balance, coordination. That can prevent you from tripping over yourself, or in some cases having vertigo when you rise up from a seat and you move around gingerly or casually. It builds strength, improves your balance and coordination, and you also want to ask your physician about the best exercises that are tailor-made around your own physical impairments or conditions. So, you know, not everybody's going to lift weights and bench press and squat, but if it's a light exercise that they recommend, then it's okay to do it. and you can get a guide from the National Institute on Aging, which is a physical activity guide. They'll send it to you for free. That number is 800-222-2225. I'm going to leave this slide up for a minute. And basically they have all these fun tidbits on the benefits of exercise, as well as agencies and programs that are tailor-made just for the diamond demographic, which is yourself, that you can benefit from, that the government does not have a problem sending you and letting you become a part of. And it's 1-800-222-2225. And you call them and tell them I sent you. Everybody got that number?
You can find the National Institute of Aging at NIH.gov, but you'll get there quicker with NIA in front of it.
Okay.
NIA.NIH.
Gotcha. Okay. We're already in the technological revolution here. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, we're gonna move on here. All right, take your time. Another tidbit as a kid that my parents told me about. Stop rushing. Slow down, take your time. Could never realize and understand why I always got the tutorial on stop rushing, stop running, take your time. Because you might trip, you might fall. You trip, you fall, that's an incident right there that requires emergency medical services to some degree. So you want to make sure that if you're sitting in a chair, you get out of the chair slowly. Take a moment to breathe, inhale, exhale, gather your surroundings. Rise slowly and gain your balance before you walk, and then you can move about at that point. And also proximity awareness. Become very aware of what's around you. So if you have a chair in front of you, it wouldn't behoove him to just lunge forward. He's going to go sideways to the back. All right, clear the way. This is another thing here about hoarding. You want to make sure that stairs and walking areas are free of electrical cords, shoes, clothing, books, magazines, and other clutter. You do not want to have a house that is considered a hoarding palace. And I remember there's a television show that comes on, I believe it's the Discovery Channel, about actual hoarders in the United States of America who have actually buried themselves in their own home. Now, can you imagine if they call 911 and it's a first responders dispatched to their home? The nightmare of trying to get through all of that to get to you. First of all, we can't even figure out where you might be in all of that. So, I guess my parents were right. Keeping the room clean, keeping the house clean is universal to follow me throughout. I can't escape it. So, they win. Look out for yourself, all right? See an eye specialist regularly. Want to make sure that your vision is maintained and monitored constantly. Night lights are my #1 friend. I remember when I was in college, I had night lights all over my house because when you would rise in the evening, you'd be surprised the most frequent route from your bedroom is your bathroom. And I mean, sometimes I don't even remember how I got there, but just by habit alone, I was able to make that transition or that route with my eyes closed. But night lights serve as ambient lighting for your surroundings, so it actually gives you a chance to kind of see where you're going approximately. Wiping up liquids and spilled substances. Now you'll be surprised some of the things that go on in public scenarios when they have a spill, when they have something that drops on aisle 4, everyone's rushing to get to it, to zone and cone that area off. Why is that? Can anybody tell me why the rush to pick up a spilled liquid? Okay, water makes is a viscous substance that makes things slippery. But what could that do to me and you if we step on it? We're going down. Number one is going down. And that can result in a lawsuit because of endangerment, negligence, so forth. Now, let's just say you spilled some liquid in your home and you go down. Can you sue yourself? No. You got nobody to blame but yourself at that point. So it's kind of like a universal system of good housekeeping. You want to make sure that all liquids that are spilled are picked up immediately. Now, when you're in your bathroom, the bathroom and the kitchen serve as the two culprit areas in the home for slips. Kitchens, because most people utilize chairs as ladders. A chair will let you down every time. I prefer that we get a stepping ladder. And that step ladder in itself is guaranteed to make sure that you do not go down. But in the bathroom, when you're in your shower is slippery, so therefore you want to have a mat in place. That mat in place serves as a mitigation to prevent you from slipping. And don't be afraid of the portable handrails that they sell in the hardware stores that have the suction on it. That handrail is not going anywhere. You can almost do a pull-up on that handrail. Once it goes up, it's up. And if you have to hold on to that handrail when you wash your feet or washing other areas, don't be ashamed. You'll be surprised, even at my age, I hold on to the handrail that's in my shower because I can go down too, unfortunately. All right, uneven surfaces in the form of throw rugs. You want to make sure that they have the rubber skidding, which means that they're not the kind that are fly by night. So when you step on the rug lets you down and you go with the rug and everybody's in the air. When that rug becomes frayed at the ends, it's time at that point to throw it out. And you want to make sure the wrinkles are smoothed out. Tread carefully. Now, if we know anyone who is a resident of a senior facility and they utilize stairwells or steps, rule of thumb, the stair rail should go or extend from the top of the stairs all the way to the bottom of the stairs. At no point or at any point should that rail cut off before you reach that bottom step. So you should have a handrail or guidance from the rail all the way down until you reach the bottom step. If it is not there, you have a right to report that to management immediately. If it's not rectified at that point, then other agencies step in from the government and then fines ensue at that point, because that is a serious violation. Stairways should be well lit from both top to bottom, which means that if the lighting in the stairwell is out too, that's another flag for you to report as well. Okay. And that's the proper way to utilize the stairwell. All right, best foot forward when selecting shoes. Now, I wouldn't recommend anybody wear 6-inch platforms around the house just to casually and gingerly move about. A lot of times, dress shoes or hard bottom shoes, that we say, down south we tend to say those are sitting shoes or sitting pretty shoes, and I put on my walking shoes once I move around, move about, because most of the time hard bottom shoes aren't very well gripped for surfaces that you would require some traction on. So most of the time they're just for sitting and looking pretty, and you always have a spare set of shoes or footies in your bag so that you can move around and utilize those. But when you select shoes, they should be well-fitted, low-heel shoes with non-slip soles. These are safer than high heels, thick soles, and athletic shoes, slippers, or stocking feet. Now, believe it or not, some sneakers don't really do well on carpet. So that's why they said that the well-heeled shoes with the non-slip soles. They're usually not the most prettiest of shoes, but they will guarantee that you won't go down. Okay? All right, here's a little tidbit here. Falls are the source of the most injuries in bathrooms. In 1 year, 234,000 people visited emergency rooms due to injuries suffered in bathrooms. Most of these injuries were caused by falls, which can be especially dangerous for older adults. So handrails and mats should be everywhere in the restroom, okay? And we're going to go into the next slide, and this is how you can contact myself or Ms. Fennell, and we're always available, and we will actually come to your building and speak to you. We got plenty of PowerPoint, so this right here is just the beginning. But we will come to you and speak to you on whatever topic of appropriation that we can speak about regarding fire safety and prevention. But we'll go into the next slide, which is fire safety. All right, so we're in the kitchen. We're from the bathroom, bedroom, hallway. Now we're in the kitchen. Let's talk about how can we be more appropriate in the kitchen. But you guys are doing pretty good. I didn't think I would have your attention, or I might need an intermission at some point, but we're gonna roll into it. Okay. Oh, how to prevent cooking in related fires and injuries. All right. The cooking fire problem. What's the problem? What's the culprit? The culprit. Cooking is the leading cause of home fires and fire injuries. 1 in 8 households will have a cooking fire each year. The leading cause of kitchen fires is, drum roll, unattended cooking. Now I just, a lot of times I tend to follow fire-related accidents and fatalities throughout the country. And there was a situation in Chicago where 3 children, siblings, perished in a fire because they were utilizing a hot plate for a heating source. Now I can recall as a child growing up, grandparents actually trying to cut back on heating and will utilize the oven as a heating source. Now, I thank God that we're in a different day and age where there are programs for Department of Social Services, Department of Aging, that are in the local jurisdiction that are in place to assist with home heating bills, as well as assistance in providing the necessary steps to prevent someone from having to rely exclusively on their stove as a heating source. I just wanted to throw that in there, and that was a footnote. Steps to save cooking. All right, you watch what you heat, you stay alert, you keep things that can catch fire away from heat. Know what to do if you have a cooking fire. We're gonna follow we're keeping kids away from the cooking area. We'll talk about preventing scalds and burns and installation and use of cooking appliances safely, as well as smoke alarms. There goes that #1 device again, smoke alarms. All right, watch what you eat, and also what you eat as well too today, y'all. All right, what's wrong with this picture? What's wrong with this picture? All right, it looks like she is going the opposite way, but what's going on the stove? Now, a lot of times you have the eye turned up really, really, really high, and things start to boil over. Now, if she's pretty much heading the opposite way, that means she may have the eye set too high. Now, looks like everything's under control, so she may have simmered down that eye, and she is at her station at this point here. Now, you know, I did this slide in front of that HOA, and there were some kids in the audience, and they were pointing out some stuff that I had not even seen. And I was like, you know, how can you even, even know what that is? Well, and it's like, you'll be surprised how eagle-eyed children are from an actual adult. Now here it is, I'm supposed to be the expert, and I got the kids that are young enough to be my children pointing things out to me, which goes to show that the older you get, the more sharpening that you need, or reinforcement, or reintroductory when it comes to certain topics. But we'll have a lot of these, what's wrong with these slides throughout, so you guys get ready to talk back to me, okay? All right, watch what you eat. When you fry, grill, or broil, stay in the kitchen. Say it again, stay in the kitchen. Everybody say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Stay in the kitchen. All right, so you want to turn off the stove. You leave the kitchen even for a short time. I need to remind myself of that. You'll be surprised if you have something cooking on a 5 dial and your stove goes up to 10. You go sit down just for 30 minutes, 15 at minimum, and you come back once you realize, oops, I got something on the stove. Just how far down that food has cooked on that stove from constant thermal energy that is basically applying heat to that pan. And then that pan or pot or broil or whatever it is, conducting that heat throughout. So if you are going to watch your television program or the news, warm or low setting, believe it or not, it may not seem like it's that hot, but just the pan alone serves as a heating source once it already has, it serves as a convection source once it already has heat that is allowing that energy thermally to transpose throughout. So if you have to, put it on low. I wouldn't say turn it off altogether, but put it on low. Now, if you're going to leave the house, turn it off. Turn it off if you're going to leave the house, okay? Unless it's a crock pot, and then you put it on low. When you simmer, bake, roast, or broil, stay in your home or apartment. Now, we just had a kitchen fire with someone who had some French fries cooking on the stove. They went across the street, and apartment complex burned, several units were affected. That goes for the younger generation, so I don't think anybody in here will be doing the same thing that this young lady did this summer. So in this case right here, you want to make sure that you stay in your home or apartment when you're cooking. Turn off the stove if you leave your home, even for a short time. So I'm going to say it again. Turn off the stove if you leave your home, even for a short time. You'll be surprised. One errand can lead to another. To another, to another, to another. I've done it before. Going to one store, and then going to another store, and another store, and another store. Thank God I didn't have anything on the stove, but the environment is just that contagious nowadays, where when you go outside of your home, you think about, oh yeah, I need this, I need this too, and then you forget, well, I didn't really come out to get all this. Now, I just spent the whole day shopping. So imagine if you had something on the stove, you come home. You'll never be the same at that point. You come home to that. Check when you're cooking regularly, which means timers. Utilize the timer on your microwave, the timer on your stove. 10 minute, 15 minute. Always set it when you leave the kitchen, so when it goes off, you know that something is beeping. Okay. Stay alert. All right, so I'm going to say that to some people who are going to sleep on me. Stay alert, stay alert. This is like payback for grad school for me, because I was going to sleep with some of my professors back in the day. They were looking like, oh, you're just such a terrible person. We'll get you. Wait till we have a test. But no, this is payback in a good way. But you guys are good for the most part. I appreciate you. Okay, what's going on here? Y'all ever been to a concert before? You know how sometimes like the person is singing, they have you singing too, so they give you the mic. Looks like somebody did what at the stove? Dozed off, okay. And they're in a wheelchair, which could impede egress, so they're putting themselves in really a bad situation. What's right with this picture, though? There's something right, and a child pointed this out to me. You know, kids see everything. On the back burners. He has the pots on the back burners. Out of the mouth of babes come the words of wisdom, because I have been going over this for about 6 months, this PowerPoint, and I've never picked up on it. All right, there we go. Now we're under control. He's alert, he's up. That means, looks like the no-nos kicked in, and he's in control. Good deal. All right. If you're not alert, you may have trouble controlling your cooking, keeping things that burn away from heat, keeping children and pets away from cooking. Do not cook if you are drowsy, have been drinking, or using drugs. So I guess the saying goes, don't drink and drive, don't drink and cook. And if you are under the influence of medications, do not drive, do not cook. Now, for some of us who take blood pressure medications or vasodilators, sometimes, and I've had my grandparents tell me this, that the blood pressure medication makes them woozy because it opens up the arteries so more blood can flow through. And that can give them a really trippy effect or loopy effect. If you know that your medication has a certain effect on you, let that formulary or therapeutic effect or side effect run its course before you try to go in and beat Julia Child's our own game. Okay, so you want to make sure that if you're taking medication that you allow that medication to run its course. Keep things that can catch fire away from heat. Now, what did we talk about in the first slide? That was a tutorial or introductory into this slide. The fancy sleeves. All right, what's going on with this? What's going on? What's going on? Talk to me. Got a lot of things going on in this picture. I'm gonna come, everybody one-on-one, raise your hand. Okay, we got curtains flaring. What else? Looks like the mitt is on the corner of the stove, and looks like there could be a little bit of combustion incomplete going on here from the mitt to the heat source. What else? Sleeves. That robe could serve as a culprit for male has fallen from the mail slot onto the actual stove here. And what else? What's going on here too? Looks like the back burner has something burned on the back, whether it could be grease or sugar, who knows. And there's one more thing that a baby pointed out to me that I missed. To her left. Actually, I think the kid told me it was a toaster. And it was like a plug, the cord, yeah. So that should be further out of the way. So that actual stove should serve as an isolated spot with not all that around it. And it looks like she's doing everything at once and got everything going on. That was a bread box, okay? I was paying attention. Looks like she got it together just like that. All right, y'all helped her out. Good deal. Things that can catch fire, keep things that can catch fire away from heat. Now, things that can catch fire include pot holders and oven mitts, bags, boxes, towels, and curtains. Don't store things that can catch fire in or near an oven, microwave oven, or toaster oven. So, like I said earlier, that stove needs to be an isolated zone, a neutral zone. with not a lot of friends around it other than the pot, the pan, and yourself in front of it. Keep stovetop burners and ovens clean. Wear tight-fitted rolled up or short sleeves when cooking. You already went over that? We're reinforcing it again. I tend to understand that humans learn better with repetition. Like if you loop it, then we get it. It's just a matter of time. We went over this earlier too. Stop, drop, and roll. Stop immediately. Drop to the ground, cover your face in your hands. I can demonstrate for you if you want to. Roll over and over and back and forth to put the fire out, but do not what? Run, R-U-N. Know what to do if you have a cooking fire. What shall we do? What shall we do? All right, what's going on here?
Put the cutting board over.
Okay, so I think we've already been trained on fire marshal tutorial on what to do. Cutting board, or the pot lid. Everything has its place. Now, what is her reaction? What's going on?
Blow it out, Willie.
What's her reaction? She seemed shocked or surprised. And remember I said do not panic. Don't panic. That's the last thing you want to do. Because panic tends to dissipate steps that should be ordered. Which means that we forget what to do when we panic. You'll be surprised when we're nervous and upset how we just forget the simplest things.
Don't keep your cutting board at the back of your stove.
All right, that's
Oh, down.
All right, looks like she got it together just like this in no time flat. All right, that's what I'm talking about. And she doesn't look very happy though. I like this reaction better than the last one. All right, know what to do if you have a cooking fire. When in doubt, just get out. That means that if that fire gets to a point where you feel like it is a danger to yourself and you cannot properly extinguish it with a fire extinguisher, then leave the scene immediately. Call 911. Okay. When you leave, close the door behind you to contain the fire. Call 911 or the local emergency number after you leave. If you do try to fight the fire, be sure others are already getting out. You have a clear path to the exit. Now, I wouldn't advise anyone to fight a fire unless they have a fire extinguisher or they have something that could snuff that fire out and basically remove the oxygen, meaning like a lid or something that basically can be used as a mitigation device to throw over that fire. But I prefer you use a fire extinguisher, okay? And do we know we can pick up a fire extinguisher at our local hardware store? 5 to 10 pounds. 210 ABC is the standard extinguisher type for residential. ABC. Okay, it's called ABC, which basically will mitigate most household fires.
Read the directions before you have a fire.
That
When you
too.
get it, read the directions so you know what to do.
Yes, ma'am. That too.
Willie,
Small
we used to use salt.
confined to a pan on a burner.
that's the,
All right, so we got this scenario going right here. Keep an oven mitt and lid that fits the pan nearby when you cook. So the saying that goes, every pot has a lid, everything has its place, that should be nearby. Wearing your oven mitt, smother the fire by carefully sliding the lid over the pan. Turn off the burner, do not move the pan, keep the lid on the pan until it is completely cool. All right, and that was a brief tutorial on what to do. We already covered that, we're just going over it again. All right, now microwave fires. You'll be surprised, some people actually open the microwave when something is on fire. Just turn the microwave off, and eventually that fire will snuff itself out. Okay? Open the oven or microwave oven fires. Turn off the oven, keep the oven door closed, unplug the microwave oven. If you can safely reach the outlet, have the equipment checked and serviced before you use it again. Now, if someone asked me a really good question, what's the life expectancy of most electronics in my home. 10 years, believe it or not, 10 years. Think about a TV that you had in 1992 that's different from a television that you had in 2000, 2010. Every 10-year period is when electronics upgrade to some degree. Electronically, as far as how they utilize electricity from an electrical source, even in design and weight. 10 years is the life expectancy. So if you've had a microwave for 10 years, or any appliance, preferably if you have an oven that's older than 10 years, you sometimes might want to have that oven coil looked at by a certified electrician just to make sure that it has its sheathing on the electrical cords that supply energy to that oven. So you want to have an electrician inspect the major appliances. That's why you have like your heating and your air conditioning inspected by a certified HVAC plumber or technician, because that in itself does not, it does, you can upgrade it every 10 years if you'd like to. It's expensive, but if you have the proper certification and inspection, then you can pretty much curtail any instance of something taking place because of negligence or wear and tear. So every 10 years, okay? All right, babies in the kitchen, babies in the kitchen. Okay, think about what the fire chief said about that golden proximity zone as far as in feet. What was that? Was it 4 feet? 36 inches. All right, what's wrong with this picture? A lot going on, and it breaks my heart. I can't stand to look at it. Somebody help me out. Tell me what's happening here.
Well, the child's at the stove.
We got the baby at the stove. That's strike number one right there. That drives me bananas.
Mother turned away from the child.
Mother turned away from the child.
Attention on the dog.
Attention on the dog. What else? Got ball, a basket nearby, and it looks like flour or something viscous that can serve as a slipping agent on the floor. Very good. All right. Hopefully we can rectify this in the next slide. All right. There we go. There we go. All right. 36 inches, 3 feet. There we go. That's that golden zone. Now, I did a stint in the fire marshal's office for about 2 years. And that was the majority of my technical training. And we would actually do in-service training for a lot of daycare providers. And we used to inform them under no circumstances are you ever to have the child, if they're crying, you're trying to coddle the baby in the kitchen with you. Let that baby cry in that crawler or in the safe area that they're in, away from the kitchen, until you can get to that child. Don't bring that child in that kitchen, because believe it or not, the baby can become a casualty of a burn through vapor or steam or even a splash off, or it could be grease or water. All right, so let's talk about this slide. Most of these pictures have like the actual lecture that goes with it. And I'm thinking about changing the color to probably red, because there's another squint in the back. So blue is not a good color. Have a carefree zone of 3 feet around the stove. Areas where hot food or drink is prepared, placed, or carried. Never hold a child while cooking, drinking, or carrying hot foods or liquids. So that means that if you're having a tea party, babies are nowhere near to be found, because that water can actually serve as a scalding agent. Prevent scalds and burns. So,
Keep handles of pans turned towards on the stove, not hanging over them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I got
I
my
don't know
badge
whether
over
you
here.
have that or not, but that's one of the great things.
No, actually, that wasn't covered, but that's a conversation piece too. Pot handles should always be turned 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, never 6 o'clock. Okay, so 9 o'clock from you, 3 o'clock from you, not 6 o'clock at you. Very good. All right, I like it. All right, what's going on here? What's the problem? What's the problem?
He's looking for a recipe.
And I think somebody said that he was visually impaired. Okay, that was one thing. But you know, actually, blind people can cook. But it looks like he has a boil over here and a lot going on.
Yep.
Look at the electrical outlet. What's happening there?
Oh,
Pasta boiling over.
Got too much on that electrical outlet. Very good.
cups on the edge.
Okay, we got it together right here. Looks like the water is at a simmer. He's getting ready to put the spaghetti in. He said outside spaghetti. And there's only one outlet being utilized on the plug. And as it should be, and everything is away from the stove. Now we're wrapping up here. Place objects where they cannot be pulled over or knocked over to prevent scars and burns. Turn pot handles away from the stove's edge. Using the future. Very good. Use back burners to keep hot things further away from young children. Keep hot foods and liquids away from table and counter edges. And keep appliance cords coiled and away from counter edges. Microwave oven usage. Never use aluminum foil or metal objects in a microwave oven. Easy I forget. Use only microwave safe cookware, containers or dishes. I really don't cook in the microwave too much. I usually heat up stuff, so that would be fine. Food heated by microwave ovens. Open microwave foods slowly away from your face so that you don't become as a steam burn. Hot steam escaping from a container of the microwave food or the food itself can cause burns. Teach children that hot things burn. Safe cooking behaviors when children are old enough. And that's why we weren't able to cook in the kitchen until we were like 15, 16. Okay. If someone is burned, first degree burn that is, if they're burned, cool the burn with cool water for 3 to 5 minutes. Now, if the burn is a second degree or third degree, you want to seek medical attention. Second degree, if you have a medical condition like diabetes or heart condition to some degree, you might want to have your physician look at that. But if you don't have an existing medical condition, second degree burn, you can just apply dressing to that. And that's usually the burn that gives you like the blisters. And the third degree is when you've been charcoal baked all the way through, and you can see scarring that is like that. And we're wrapping up here. Always use cooking equipment tested and approved by a recognized testing facility. Go again. So if you scratch it, then make sure that it's been inspected. Follow manufacturer's instructions and code requirements when installing and operating cooking equipment. So that means the stove will not be in our living room. Never use an extension cord for a cooking appliance as it can overload the circuit and cause a fire. Have working smoke alarms. We got that tip shape actually on that table right there. So you don't have to write down that number, but that's the tip sheet that is on the table there. You can call it all day and request a smoke alarm or a CO detector for your home, and our friends will come by and install it for free. Okay, no charge. Okay, it's how you test the smoke alarm. One on each sleeping room, outside of the sleeping area, one on every level of your home. You test the battery monthly. You change the battery. Spring forward, fall back, twice a year. Okay. If it chirps, that means it's time to put in a new battery. Replace the smoke alarm, what did the fire chief say? Every what? 10 years. There we go with that magic year again. And also, when you have a nuisance alarm and you're cooking, most of the time they'll give you a 15-minute window where they'll actually start back to chirp, so it gives you 15 minutes to do what you got to do and it turns back on. But don't take the battery out when we're trying to get you because you'll forget to put it back in. And that's just to tell you, do not disable the smoke alarm and take the batteries out. Okay. Watch what you eat and you eat. Stay alert. Keep things that can catch fire away from heat. Know what to do if you have a cooking fire. Keep kids away from cooking areas. Prevent scalds and burns. Install and use cooking appliances safely. Have working smoke alarms, blah, blah, blah. Questions? And that's our contact information once again. And you can contact us as a tip sheet with that information on it. And you can call us for comments, complaints, or to schedule another presentation. It's just as long as this one here. And these are my three friends. You saw the fire chief. He came in and spoke to you today. He's a good guy. And to his left is, to his right is Rashawn Baker, the county executive of Prince George's County. And to Mr. Baker's right is Mr. Barry L. Stanton. He's the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Public Safety. And this presentation is brought to you by and the NPA. And that's it. Thank you all so much.